Move approval of the agenda.
Second.
Roll call.
Ms. Lees?
Aye.
Mr. Beck?
Aye.
Mr. Bryan?
Aye. Okay. We're here tonight for a public hearing on zone change requests from O planned residence with subservient office / major revision to E planned residence district also with subservient office located at 9365 Fields Erdel Road. I would now like to declare the public hearing open, and those who wish to speak, you first, is that right? Can you guys see this through me, or do I need to move? You guys are really familiar with it, I'm sure. Ultimately.
Good evening, Brian Snyder, Hamilton County Planning and Development. We have worked with the applicant on walking this through the zone change process. The request is, there's two parts to the request. The entire property is under consideration for a zone change. One part of that is called a major revision, simply because part of the property is currently zoned EE planned residence with retail. And they're changing that to an EE planned residence with retail. Because the actual district isn't changing, that portion is called a major revision. And there's a portion of the property that's zoned O planned residence with office that would be changed to EE. Essentially, the property was approved for the current development in 1988. That zone change included a portion that was EE and a portion that was OO. There was a resolution from I believe the Board of County Commissioners at the time that covered the entire property and had conditions and related to a specific plan that allowed for the construction of what's there currently. The effect of having a major revision and a zone change on the property would be to place the entire property under one EE planned residence district with one resolution that would replace all previous approvals and resolutions with the new one that's under consideration by the board tonight. So fairly complicated. In the end, it's very simple. What you're considering tonight would be the replacement of the approval on the property, and that's what would be allowed and permitted in the future. The zone changes in Symmes Township are required to go through a public hearing process. There was a public meeting with the Hamilton County Regional Planning Commission back in June. The Regional Planning Commission recommended approval with conditions of the zone change. There was a couple of public hearings with the Symmes Township Zoning Commission, the first of which was on June 16th, and then the final hearing was on August 18th. The Zoning Commission ultimately recommended approval of the zone change with 5 conditions and 5 variances. There was a staff report presented to the Planning Commission and the Zoning Commission at the initial hearing. Following the initial Zoning Commission hearing, there was a revised set of plans that were submitted by the applicant. Staff did prepare an addendum to the original staff report to go over those changes that were submitted at that time. And that is the plan. The revised plan is the plan that the Zoning Commission recommended with the 5 conditions and 5 variances. In the interest of not belaboring any of the points that you've read in the reports that have been provided to you, I'd be happy to answer any questions at this point.
If we were to pass a resolution tonight, in that resolution, should it say that this one supersedes any previous?
No, it goes without saying.
Okay.
The documentation that's in the file, the zone plat and the legal description that were submitted as part of the case, those cover the property. Your resolution relates to that case, and so that documentation all goes together as one case file.
Okay, thank you.
Brian, just to clarify, you said 5 conditions and 5 variances are incorporated into this?
That's what was recommended by the Zoning Commission, correct?
So I know the issues that I had become aware of was the sidewalk along Montgomery, and I see that on the site plan. The parking easement along Fields Erdel and Union Cemetery.
The parking setback, yes.
Making sure that continues. And the light pole heights, the signage, and the flagpole. So all that is in this agreement.
All of that was discussed by the Zoning Commission, and their recommendations are in the conditions and variances that are before you tonight. Their recommendations, yes.
Okay.
I can't say if they were addressed to your satisfaction or not, but they were definitely discussed.
For example, where are we with the light pole heights?
The variant, or the zoning commission recommended a variance to allow the 24-foot poles that they're requesting.
Okay, okay, and that's agreeable. Okay.
To
And
get
the
to-
flagpole, what about the flagpole?
The zoning commission recommended a condition that would limit it to a total height of 200 feet.
And what does McCluskey want?
I'm not sure, 200 feet, I believe.
Yes.
Oh, so they approved that too?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
I think they just didn't want it to get higher. The zoning resolution actually allows flagpoles to be any safe and lawful height. So they could, if they can make it safe, they could put up a 500-foot tall flagpole.
I like that.
But
Okay.
that's why the zoning commission included that
You got to
condition.
look at the falling distances you have.
I think they were concerned that they were going to try and keep upping it to be the highest in the world or whatever.
Yeah. Put it out next to the WLW tower.
Honestly, the thought was TQL and Union Township had a lot of press
Okay.
for their 165-foot tall poles.
So now we top them.
Yeah, and we will build,
Yeah.
hopefully, you'll see it in
You
the,
had one and you can crank it up?
we are going to do the internal halyard.
Mhm.
It's a little more expensive, but it prevents that clanging sound in the wind. There'll just be a big, beautiful flag flying there that's lit up at night.
I understand. Okay. Cut to the chase. What are the areas of difference between the Board of Zoning and McCluskey's petition?
The amount of time that the images are allowed to be displayed on the digital image
Right.
board, I think that's it.
That's it? Okay.
And
And
so the
what,
board recommended,
30 seconds.
and you want,
The zoning resolution includes 8 seconds as the standard. I think that's also the ODOT standard for images on highways. It's
a
the
minimum of
general
eight-
standard.
A minimum of 8 seconds.
Minimum of 8 seconds, correct.
What are the arguments for each position?
The zoning commission, I think, felt like that 8 seconds would allow it to flash a couple of times while you were sitting at the light at Fields Erdel and Union Cemetery.
Okay. And
McCluskey, what's your side?
you're offering them 30 seconds, so, but the zoning says no less than 8.
The minimum standard in the zoning resolution is 8, that's right. The
Okay.
zoning commission said 30, so the zoning commission's recommendation was to be more strict than the zoning code.
And what's the logic behind going to 30?
I think it was, like I said, the intersection time that you spend at that intersection was going to allow it to change a couple of times. I think they thought the intent was that you only see one image when you drive by.
Okay. All right. I have my own feelings on that. I don't mind voicing them. I think longer is better than 8 seconds, because I think with the traffic flow on Fields Erdel Road, it could be distracting, especially if it's on a big sign. And I worry about accidents and things happening by people trying to read this, not watching what they're doing. That's
think-
my own personal feeling.
I believe that's similar to what the zoning commission said.
That's what I wanted to hear, is what the objection was to the 8 seconds.
Do you know, Brian, offhand, like the Sycamore Church has that variable message sign on Montgomery, that the messages change pretty often? Do you have any idea what, is that 8 seconds?
It should be, yes. It is supposed to be, it's required to be by the zoning code.
Okay, but do they come in when they put a variable message sign up and do you say it has to be 8 seconds, or they just kind of regulate it on their own?
So in residential districts, they're not allowed at all. So they had to go through a conditional use with the Board of Zoning Appeals and ask for a variance to allow that digital sign to be on the residential property that they're on. And the Board of Zoning Appeals typically takes the regulations that apply to the retail signage and apply them to those. So I believe, I'm not positive, but I believe there's a condition of the BZA's approval that says 8 seconds for that sign.
The reason I was asking is because when I drive on Montgomery, I think I maybe see 2 changes on that sign.
Which is why I said supposed to be in what the zoning code requires. It's very
Well,
easy
you-
for somebody in the office to change that interval, and then, we have to rely on, either the zoning inspector has to see it and then time it, or we have to get a complaint and then go out and
But-
time it, but
But again, the side, and Montgomery Community Church also has one on Montgomery Road. But
Right.
they're both small. And I'm concerned about big, and distracting. But
they are
that's-
both under 32 square feet,
Okay,
correct.
those
They're-
two are.
They're about half the size of this one.
Yes, that's my point.
So are
you
there going
guys-
to be images displayed or just words?
Just images.
Just images. They're
Oh,
images, they're not
okay.
words to read.
Okay. That appeases me a little. Okay.
We, to the degree it helps, the fifth topic down says Keith Page turns. We had our production studio take our glass trailing showroom and show you what 8 seconds would feel like.
Okay.
And so that's worth looking at. I mean,
Okay.
we respect.
That's part of the
idea
presentation
30
as far as I'm
seconds.
concerned. Yes, that's fair.
But if there was a video movement, that can cause somebody to stay engaged in it, to your point, Ken.
Mhm.
If there was a lot of wording on there and they wanted to read it as they went by, bad thing to do, that
Yes.
would not be good.
Okay.
We're more interested in this sign as a relatively small compared to the 220,000 square foot building behind it, right? So all we want to do is for all the drive-by traffic that may be heading to the Kings Island Mall to look at a Porsche or to look at a Lexus or to look at a Ford, we'll put up a beautiful red C8 Corvette. And it might say Corvette in big bold letters. And then 8 seconds later, we roll the page off. And so it's not even a distraction like a burst or something that would catch your eye. It's just called a page roll, and you'll see that. And it rolls the Corvette off as you would turn the page of a magazine. And there sitting might be a silver metallic Suburban, and it would say Suburban.
Mhm.
So we're really more so trying to just, showcase the Chevrolet product lineup than we are trying to sell any one thing, et cetera.
So there's not going to
Okay.
be like prices or anything like that. It's just going to be more.
I don't want to say that there would never be a price next to, like if a Corvette was $399, but we're honestly not trying to sell a vehicle on Field Urban. We're trying to create something that draws them in
Okay.
to learn about the pricing. So if you walk through our dealership in the Kings Island Mall, a lot of those large graphic signs that have a beautiful, we're fortunate to be a franchisee of Chevrolet because they spend hundreds of millions of dollars doing wonderful footage and or pictures. So then we put that on the wall and just put the name of one of the 16 models. That's the intent of that sign, to just show off our product. Because the sign is simple and the building is relatively simple. It's all regulated by a company called Gensler, the world's largest automotive architectural firm. And they want the car to be the star. That's what we hear a lot. So it's very clean and simple with silver and blue and white is the color palette. Similar to like when you walk in an Apple store, it's kind of bland if you look at it, but it's there because they want to show off the product they're trying to sell. And this sign is just an extension of that feeling. So it might help if you look at that video and give you the
Why
exact
don't we
time.
do this? Why don't we let Brian finish? Then you guys do your thing and we can roll turn. Okay. Then we'll ask if there's any other public comment. Okay. And then we'll close the public hearing and then we'll discuss what we want to do.
We always
Okay.
have Kim to keep us on point. Sorry. We tend
I
to
got
get
my-
hurt off.
I got my
be the police
sequence here.
officer,
Hold
but
on, Ken.
I gotta police it.
It's like,
I think she's hungry and wants dinner. Is what it is.
No, we just have a
There's-
very regimented way we have to do it.
There's
So.
one more thing
and we get off point.
Brian,
all the
go
time.
ahead.
One more thing I'd like to point out, the package of information that was handed to you by the applicant at tonight's meeting has not been reviewed by staff. Just in
Okay,
briefly,
This packet.
looking at it, there are some differences between the site plan and some of the color graphics that are included in there. For instance, the big overall site plan that shows the color of the entire site has properties next door that aren't even part of the zone change request that would need their own zone changes to develop the plan according to that. So I would encourage you to take that entire packet of information and view it as informational only and not ask me to make it part of the case file.
Okay.
Those are all details that we can handle with the final development plan if this approved by the board.
Final development plan. Okay. All right. I like that. Anything else, Brian?
I do not.
Okay. Anybody have any questions of Brian? Okay,
Thank you, Brian.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Just one key point of clarification, Brian's exactly right on that. We felt that it might help you guys to see what the end result, well, they really
Okay, please.
Keith McCluskey Chevrolet,
Okay.
thank you. To kind of echo on what you're about to see, which we did ask Randy and McGill Smith Punchin to do what, is about an 8-hour computer rendering of all the various color pictures that we had It actually stitches them all together over an 8-hour period, and you'll get an effect of what it's like to drive along Union Township or Union Cemetery Road and Montgomery Road and Fields Erdel Road. So because we are in negotiations with the two property owners to the east, we believe that will be a positive for us in Symmes Township. The gutter company that's got a really bad curb cut, we're going to eliminate a curb cut, eliminate the building, eliminate all the overgrown weeds and shrubs, and extend the arborvitaes that are going to, camouflage that. And then the other company, Marquita, we don't have a contract with them, but they're being very good about the negotiations, and we're trying to find them another spot somewhere in Symmes Township to build a nice La Marquita shopping center. One of the ones we're pushing for is the pawn shop to be gone and them to be in there. But that aside, it has nothing to do with what Brian and we have been working on. It's just something that's fully baked as far as the gutter company is concerned. That'll clean that up. And then it's about 80% baked on the La Marquita side. So that aside, really tonight we want to just show you the overall rendering. I think that's a good place to start because you guys haven't had a chance to really see that. It's got the waving flag at the 200-foot level, and you'll get a good sense for the effort and commitment that we're putting into the project. And then we'll talk a little bit more at that point about the sign out front and the timing that we would show you. So,
Is that the right one, Randy? Is that the right one, Keith?
That's the overall graphic size.
I mean, what?
Would you forgive my back turn?
Oh, no. So you might bring, Kim, if you want to bring that site plan back up, the cooler thing that we want to show you tonight is the animated drive-by. But I think the site plan is probably a good place to start, just so I can point out a couple things that you'll see as you get the drive-by rendering. So that is a 50,000-foot view. And the part to the very top of the paper, the property to the left, we do not own yet, and we're not asking for that, and we'll come back before the board and do all the proper requests at that point. That's just going to provide additional supplemental behind the building parking if we're successful acquiring it. But if we move over to Montgomery Road, our goal there, and we do plan on finishing out we'd like to put a 6-foot sidewalk. Kim, I think you call for a 5-foot sidewalk. We want it to feel like a walking path and a place that you could, quote, exercise. So as we go around the entire property, including, let's say, the Montgomery Road property, where we're going to put a row of tall arborvitaes that would completely shield the two ugly sheds in the AT&T building or the AT&T tower, that sidewalk is not going to be integral with the curb. So when somebody's walking along, you don't have to walk around a telephone pole and around a fire hydrant and worry that a car would jump the curb and hit you. We're going to, take all that up and move it back enough to give a grass berm between the curb along Montgomery Road and where a family might be walking. By what we've put on the plan here, we continued the sidewalk behind the building. And if somebody were to walk the entire property, it's almost exactly a kilometer around it. So you could do a 5-kilometer walk by walking around McCluskey Chevrolet 5 times. As you go along Fields Erdel, if you notice in the kind of southwest corner, there's a little bit of a moon-shaped piece of concrete that says Bronze Sculpture Number 1. That's right where it says Statuary Station Number 1 with the little gray moon to the left by Fields Erdel. It goes around here to say Statuary Number 2. Statuary Number 2 is by the solar charging station. Statuary 3 is to the right side, and Statuary 4 is up on the curb cut by Montgomery Road, to the right of the entrance off Montgomery Road. So, as we tried to develop, what we thought would be a fun, family-oriented, destination, a lot of people liked the one in Montgomery. So,
Including me.
Except for the helmets.
I
if you scroll down a little bit, because you start up there at the top,
Can I ask a question as we go?
Yeah.
Okay, don't we now have sidewalks outside of PNC Bank here along Montgomery Road? Those are
Yes.
gonna
Yeah,
tie
they're-
into yours?
Right.
You're only showing the loop around your
Well,
property?
Sir, there is a significant grade difference from the curb on Union Cemetery up to the parking lot of the PNC Bank
Okay.
along Union Cemetery Road. Now, on Montgomery Road, there is a sidewalk that continues that, but it'd be very difficult to connect those two.
We'll do our best to
So there'll be
coordinate
two
with them and,
sidewalks?
There'll be, that's a good question.
Or
Two
there'll be two
sidewalks?
Well, no, you just want to replace what's already there. You just want to make it wider on your property as it goes up, correct?
you know, our preference would be that it continue around PNC and have that first-class look all the way around, but we don't own that property. So we extended it where we could because of the hillside that's along Union Cemetery.
We put in sidewalks all along Montgomery Road on the west side, okay, for connectivity all the way through the township. On the other side of the road, we don't have any sidewalks. So if this sidewalk by the bank now doesn't connect up to anything, I think we're losing something.
Well,
So-
it actually, we didn't show it, but it is there.
Okay.
It's there.
If we can fix it all the way to Union Cemetery, we would certainly do that. But the connection along Union Cemetery would be a little more
No,
difficult.
I'm not asking you to make amends, but if it can be connected somewhere here to your new sidewalk.
Sure.
I'm all in favor of it,
This
so as long as we
existing-
accomplish
This
the.
existing sidewalk to connect with that.
Yes.
Yep.
Right.
Yes. Okay.
100% agree.
Okay.
Yeah, we just didn't show that on there because we don't own it and can't widen
I
their
understand, I
sidewalk. But
understand,
we'll
but
do whatever.
It just begged the question when I saw it, is
Mhm.
the connectivity. Okay, and if anything can be done to connect them, we're all for it. Okay?
Sure.
We like what your idea is. Okay, we just want to try and accommodate all the public who may be walking along the normal side.
Oh, yeah, 100% agree.
Okay.
So anyway, I stopped it along Montgomery Road, and Gary Lee Price is the gentleman. He's in his mid-80s. He lives in Utah. He does these bronze sculptures. He did the one that's in Montgomery. Surprisingly, just a tiny little statue. I would say since we started working on this project in my office, I just asked people, do you know the statue of the family of three riding their bikes there? I mean, 9 out of 10 people, know about that statue. So anyway, I called and talked to Gary Price. Those are 4 of his statues. The bottom one is called Cartwheels, and it's 4 different kids doing cartwheels. Those would be one of the stations. The next one up is called Time Together, right? That's a mom kind of flinging her daughter, up in the air a little bit. If you scroll down, I can tell you what the other 2 are. One is called Kite Flying, and it's 3 people, 3 kids, and a dog kind of running along. And then at the very top, there's one called Beginner's Luck. And it's a young boy with a big happy look on his face with his fishing pole bent, and Grandpa sitting next to him is a little frustrated because he's got no fish. And then we did, by the way, Gary never does originals, but we got approval from Chevrolet to do this. So this little boy was so excited about his SSR that he dropped his Grader's ice cream cone.
Oh, super cute.
And so Gary's going to put a Chevrolet t-shirt and a Chevrolet hat on him. And then when you look inside the building, we're going to have a car inside a recessed rotator as a key point when you look in. So it rotates flush with the tile. And then that bronze statue would be there looking at whatever car we have on there with his ice cream dropped in our tile. So 5 statues. We think it'll, he said nobody in the country's ever done more than one in an area, like a municipality or a bank, like Montgomery did. So we're excited about that. We do have Chevrolet is moving to an all-electric future. Mary Barr is committed to a carbon neutral footprint by 2040. They are putting subtle pressure, if you will, on the franchisees to do solar wherever we can do solar. This is a great project to do and consider that. Therefore, we added the solar charging stations that all of our electric vehicles will be on display in the front row near the Union Cemetery Fields Herbal intersection. Those are similar to the ones that are down at the zoo if you've been there, but they're exactly like the one that's over at our dealership, which is very much like the building. You'll see that when he does the rendering. It's not just metal poles, it's actually the ACM and the blue material, and it matches the building. So it's super first class. You know, that would be something that we would ask for consideration on. And then we're gonna put the roof of J.C. Penney and the new service bays are gonna be all solar panels, and we would be the first dealership to run all electrical outlets would be run from the sun.
If I could interrupt for just 1 second. That's never been shown on any of the plans before. That's going to be a structure that's hanging over the right-of-way. The chances of it actually getting approved there are very slim. I would not consider that as part of tonight's. Like I said, none of this site plan has been reviewed by staff. This is not the site plan that went through the previous processes up until now. It's been shown a couple of times. We keep pointing out that we haven't reviewed it. They keep showing it anyway. But this is not the one that was recommended by the zoning commission.
So other than the 4 statues, and if we don't want a solar charging station out there, just erase it. I mean, it's something that Chevrolet would like us to do. We're willing to do it. We could also move it back where it's nothing to do with the right-of-way.
Right.
And it's just on the property, but not a deal killer at all if
So we
Brian
have
doesn't-
solar charging in Harper's Point.
Yep.
What's the difference between
Harper
what
Station.
he's discussing versus what we have in Harper's Point?
If I'm reading that right, that's a covered structure.
Solar.
Of some kind. Yeah.
theirs uses electric to charge the car.
Oh, okay.
And it's
And this is
setback.
actually no
Solar
electric is,
panels, yeah.
yep, no electric's being used on those.
And that's also in the middle of the property, and it meets setback requirements.
So if need be, you could just put that
Yeah,
somewhere else?
this is something that could be worked out in
Sure.
the site development plan.
Right.
Yes,
Okay.
correct.
Okay, that's all I want to hear.
Exactly.
Okay, that's,
Okay.
okay.
Yeah, I think, you know, for people that pull in, that middle section, that's going to be very, you'll see it on the drive-by, but very kind of, you know, Kings Island-like with a center island. If that solar charging station was along there, we just want the drive-by public to see that Chevrolet and GM are committed to an all-electric future. And certainly when they come inside, there is a rooftop where actually when you get to the top of the 3rd floor on the rooftop, we're going to put a big window in the area that you land on and then surround that with greenery and put a sign there to let the people look out over the sea of solar charging panels, so they don't just think we're doing it, they're going to be able to look at it if they happen to go up onto one of the 2 rooftops.
So can I just ask one question to Brian? So you're talking about putting solar panels on top of your roof?
Correct.
No, not that. The solar panel station out by the
Oh, you're just
road.
talking about that right there? Okay,
Correct,
I
yeah.
was like, what, I don't understand why that's not.
Oh, yeah, no, that's not an issue.
Okay, I misunderstood.
So if we could, I think at this point, maybe play the
Yeah.
animation that drives around the
It's not
building.
8 hours, is it?
No, it's about 2 minutes.
Okay.
Just one more clarification, the interval that the code actually includes is 5, not 8. It's 5 seconds is the required amount of time you have to display an image.
Minimum.
Minimum.
Okay, so it could be longer.
Yes.
It could be 8, it could be 15,
Yes.
it could be
Yeah.
30.
You could
We-
go to the one that says McGill, McCluskey Chevrolet dealership, Symmes. It's an MP4 file.
Up
Okay.
to,
to
Right there.
This one?
Yes.
My glasses?
no, it's foggy. It gets,
So it's only 3 floors on this corner.
correct.
Okay.
And is that the solar panel that
Right.
you're talking about? Okay.
You can probably stop that if you wanted to look at something specifically, just push the pause button.
We're on Union Cemetery.
Correct.
What's interesting when you look at this is that the building's more than a football field away from you. So a lot of the stuff kind of shelters that view, if you want to call it that.
This shows the 24-foot light poles?
Correct.
Okay.
And then a lot of the trees throughout the lot, you know, and better, heavier landscaping along, you know, camouflages a lot.
And the light poles, they just go down, they're not gonna go out, so you're not gonna have any light pollution or anything like that. You're not gonna have anybody complaining.
Well, that's going to be part of the site development plan
Right.
also?
The pole
You're not gonna
height
be
is,
storming the gates
would be
for us
decided by
because of the light
this
poles, right?
board.
No.
Okay.
Light pollution is an issue.
Yes, that's what I'm talking about.
Okay. But I do understand that you need a certain type of lighting to showcase your cars.
Sure.
Okay. These are all 2021 models?
If we could get microchips, they would be.
I hear you. Oh, this is Field Zero?
Field Zero.
Right. And so in this, you don't have where
Whoa.
the statues
Yes,
are
okay.
yet? The statues aren't in this plan?
No, it was just on the,
Yeah, okay,
the-
I saw where the space was, okay.
Now we're heading towards
Montgomery.
Montgomery. Now, back there is where the big sign is?
correct.
Okay.
On the corner, right?
Yeah, I'd like
Correct.
to take another look at that somehow, if we go all the way around or if we go back.
So this part, is not anything we're presenting tonight. We're just showing you how we could clean up the area and create some additional parking. It's not in,
This is the
that's
back
where
of
that
your
red
building,
brick.
and this is Montgomery Road?
And this is where
This-
like
No.
AT&T is,
Montgomery's
or,
over here.
So behind J.C.
Okay.
Penney,
Those
there's a
two
red
buildings
brick
that he was
building called La
talking
Marquita. That's that parking lot.
Oh,
And then
okay,
the
that's-
gutter,
Oh, I know where that is.
that's, it's
Yeah,
like a
that's-
little market?
Yeah,
yeah.
that's the
marketplace?
Mexican
Oh,
market.
okay, yeah.
And then there's a gutter company here. Both of them are, not, visually all that appealing. And we would clean up a couple curb cuts, continue the arborvitaes.
And both of those properties would have to go through a major modification of the PUD, and we understand that. So it's a different process to actually absorb those properties into this development.
Looks like Randy put somebody.
And this is Montgomery?
Yeah, so that's where we're gonna hide all that ugly stuff and then open this up to not be a berm and garbage cans behind there, but, kind of statue there, curb cut we got approved, a nice sign, the flag certainly waving there.
And all of those signs have been lowered to 8 feet.
So how many employees will this bring to Symmes Township?
Well, we are building it, for the future. We'll tell you that my son Cameron, who spent 2 years in Chicago, he's being promoted to Director of Recruitment and Retainment. So we're going to have a staff of people that do nothing but hire. We've never done that before because this will afford us the ability to do it. 500.
Oh, that's awesome.
Over a period of time, though.
Right.
As quick as Cameron can.
Okay, good.
Get up and running?
I tell everybody one of the smartest things I ever did was acquire this if we fill it up with productive employees. One of the dumbest things I ever did is if we move over here and have the same number of employees and sell the same number of cars. We just can't do it. And this is, we'll be the world's largest Chevrolet dealership.
And you will be operational, from what hours?
So we had 5 construction companies bid the project. 3 of them accepted our liquidated damages clause, which they do typically, that if it's not open within 365 days of when they break ground, they owe us $2,500 per day or $75,000 a month in liquidated damages. So they're urgent to get it done. And then we too owe them $2,500 a day or $75,000 a month if they get us in earlier than the 365 days. So it's an incentive for them on a rain day, et cetera, to be, we are the job they're going to catch up on and work through the weekends and expedite getting it done and cleaned up. We also want to invest the additional money, and from a timing standpoint, everything you see on the outside, right, the better sidewalks, the landscaping, the bronze statues, we'd like to do that at the very beginning and put up that brand-new, real high-end mesh fence that shows pictures of the finished product. So for the year that construction's going on, it kind of lets all the millions of people that cycle around that 16 acres on those 3 busy roads envision, what's going to be behind there. Instead of finishing that up at the end, we'd rather start from there so the Symmes Township residents and people start to appreciate what's going on behind the fence.
Ken, where did you want to go back to?
Just at the very end where it was showing the sign. I think it was at the very end.
Yes, at night.
The beginning and the end, yeah.
If you go back to us, keep going.
Up,
There.
right
There.
there. So how tall is that sign?
Yeah.
What's up, Justin?
How tall is that sign?
So one of the things, the sign that's there today is 30 feet tall. We are putting a sign 9 feet shorter, so that one's 21. It's 9 feet shorter than what's currently on the corner. And as a consideration or discussion point tonight, we believe that's the right height for the scale of the building. But if you guys were okay with giving us the federal 8 seconds, which is 3 seconds longer than you guys suggest, you allow 5, the state and federal government require a minimum of 8 seconds. And if we can, if we can get that, if it felt like a fair consideration and you didn't want it to be 21 feet tall, we could do 20 feet or 19 feet or maybe even 18 feet, as part of a trade-off.
Well,
So
everything here is the scale, correct? I mean, the perspective of the drive-by and everything else is to show the scale of the building, the scale of the signs, the flagpole height, the light pole height, and everything else?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
All right.
So, I don't know if you want to go around it again. I could ask Kim to pause in certain areas. I could give you a little bit more detail, or maybe what you just saw was plenty enough.
No, I think we've seen enough. Okay.
You good?
So
A little touch, just not a trivia thing, but if you look in the, kind of northwest corner of the Chevrolet blue ACM arch, to the far left, there's a clock there.
Up in the point.
And the same company that made Big Ben and did the lights or the clocks at the Masters, they're out of Connecticut, and they sell that clock, and we've got it on all 4 sides. So it's on both sides of that one and both sides of the other one on Montgomery Road, just as kind of a little touch to the community to allow a clock, to be there. It lights up at night just behind the hands and the numbers, very subtle white LED light. If there's it is programmed to automatically pause at 2 a.m. on daylight savings time, so it's always accurate. And if there's a power outage for 17 minutes and 3 seconds to pick a time, then when it fires back up, it knows that, and it doesn't start the clock for 17 minutes and 3 seconds, so it's right back on time again. It'll never be not accurate. So those are, tall signature architectural elements. You may not know it sitting there, but they're 4 feet thick, so it's a pretty good structure. It's kind of a salute to Louis Chevrolet. The bow tie is at 15-degree angles on the outer edges of the bow tie logo, and those are at the same 15-degree angles on the 2 sides of the building. So with that, we could maybe go to, you might want to see the 8-second animation. By the way, one other little quick thing, the 6 bays along that face Fields Erdel and the bottom corner delivery bay are what we call VIP delivery. So any customer that buys a new or used car from us, the vehicle is backed into the bay, there's a blue bow put on top of it, there's an LED graphic above it with their name and the car that they bought, and then it's kind of a social moment to shoot a video or take a picture or celebrate your car. Then the door goes up and they pull off and we back the next one in.
Okay. So it's very much a destination.
Yeah, I mean, we think so. There's not a second floor on the J.C. Penney. You'll notice a very, very, very long outdoor mezzanine on both sides of the center opening.
So is
And-
there like a Starbucks?
Yeah, I mean, so inside, there'll be a second floor that's not there at J.C. Penney. So all of those team members, upwards of 200 on the second floor that's not even there, would be able to walk outside, get fresh air, and feel a little bit more tied to the outside elements instead of just being upstairs on the second floor. There's the clock. That's a pretty good shot of that one. We didn't want to forget the people going the other direction on Montgomery or Fields River Road, so we told them we'd take 4 of them. So maybe the next thing to do would be show you what an 8-second interval would look like. That's the next MP4 up. These pictures aren't great. This was just our production studio. Before you hit play on that, hit pause for just a second. We just took one of our current TV spots it's running. That's one of our patent pending glass traveling showrooms. When someone doesn't want to come to the dealership or they're wanting it delivered down to Atlanta or Lexington or whatever, we take it to them in a glass traveling showroom. The blue speakers that glow, those are Bose speakers that play music when you pull up to the house. We're kind of like the ice cream truck when we come into the neighborhood a little bit, and people love it. It has a bow up on top of it, and then we shoot a video to the person on the way to their house. They can get on and kind of watch it like Amazon triptych to their house as their car is going along, because they recognize the landmarks going by because it's in a glass truck. But what I asked Ken Yoder to do was just take still shots of our current 30-second shot, and then at 8-second intervals, the top right corner peels down. So if you go back to the beginning, Kim, and hit play, if you guys give it a minute, you'll see and sense as you drive by, how long 8 seconds is. So we would just have a single vehicle up there. Most cars are driven by this point, and then it peels down. And absent sitting at a traffic light and you're not moving, you're not really drawn to read anything.
I just want to clarify, the zoning wanted 30 seconds? Is that what we wanted?
The zoning commission recommended 30, yes.
30, okay. So can we see what 30 looks like versus 8?
30 seconds.
So the whole thing, we'd just be staring at one truck.
Oh, one truck the whole time, oh.
So what he's showing you is, this is 8 seconds. This is.
Right.
This thing is what,
All
It'd be
the way
like
to
1 minute
the
long?
end.
It'd be like 4 page
That'd be-
turns.
Right.
That'd be 32 seconds.
Two page
Two page
turns.
turns, it's
Yeah,
a minute.
that's it, the minute.
But these
So-
page turns are 8 seconds, you said.
That's what 8 would feel like, yes, exactly. And that's what the
So it'd
state
be
and
like-
federal government
It'd
requires.
be like 4 of those,
No.
that would be 32 seconds.
What we're saying is we would like to be able to have 8-second intervals
Right,
to
I
show the
understand.
next vehicle.
Right, I get that. I'm just saying 30 seconds would be the equivalent of basically 4 of these.
Just
8
two.
seconds.
Two. It would be
page-
two.
What am I missing?
There's
Because
one at the
it's a
beginning.
minute-
At the beginning and
This video's a
page
minute
turn.
long, so that you would only be able to get 2 page turns
In that 1 minute.
in that 1 minute, if it's 30 seconds each.
So why is it important for you to have 8 seconds? What's the marketing strategy behind it?
Just simply that if it's just sitting there for 30 seconds, we feel that people wouldn't appreciate that it is truly a high-def board. We could sit there and watch a movie. We're not planning on doing that, but it would be the clarity of a movie. If you've been down to the new stadium where the Bearcats play and seen their big scoreboard, how crystal clear it is. It makes our product look beautiful, and we would like the transition to show that as many times as possible. And the alternative is, if it's every 30 seconds, people will see the Corvette, it'll just almost look like a backlit sign, like the one I've got in my office, because they just don't really, for the most part, see the movement or the motion. So you guys allow 5 seconds. We didn't ask for that because we're used to living with 8 seconds. We've got a 27-foot diagonal monitor that faces I-71 that's inside of our current King's Auto Mall building. We regulate that at exactly 8 seconds. I did drive, I'm not trying to report on anybody, but I did drive through Symmes Township, and most of the ones that change there are somewhere between 3 and 5 seconds. I mean, they're changing pretty fast, and, like Brian said, they might just speed it up a little bit or want to get more in there. We have no intention. We want the person to absorb the new Corvette for 8 seconds. But then if the page peels down, it gives them a chance to then see a Camaro, and 8 seconds later to maybe see the new Blazer. We might show interior shots.
That would be my car.
That would be, so, you know, it to us feels like, with the very minimal amount that we're going to show, it's like you can take in what we're showing in a third of a second. It's a picture of a car. We're not going to put words up there. You can write that into it. We have no intention of doing that. We want it to just be a beautiful shot of the picture in a high-def format, and then 8 seconds later, like you just experienced, roll to the next one. And again, when we presented it, we knew that you guys would allow 5. We didn't ask for that because we felt, you know, we'll take the higher ground and get what the state over many decades has proven to be the right speed at 65 miles an hour, right? The federal government's at 8 seconds. So we thought, no, let's just, 8's fine. We've been doing that and get a lot of compliments on the one along 71. And then when George read the ordinance, for the first time that night, you know, we heard 30 seconds. And at that point, I think that one might have been recorded. I just respectfully said, you know, how did we get to 30 seconds? I mean, it wasn't even a dialogue about discussing it. It just was read at 30 seconds. And they just, you know, that's the way they felt comfortable that night, allowing the sign that is bigger than would normally be allowed there. So we do appreciate that. And we just felt, you know, it's not going to kill the deal. You know, if you guys just can't tolerate that, it's not like the 30 seconds is going to stop us from doing the project. I'm not going to stand here and say that. It just, in our opinion, would look better because it's an expensive board that looks beautiful, and the movement, albeit subtly every 8 seconds, we think is important to the look of the overall project.
Okay.
Randy or Sean, anything else you feel we need to?
Well, the only other thing you and I talked about was we put a signage package because we've gone through and painstakingly identified every sign on the building that we want. And I don't know if we can just talk about it now and just have a dialogue.
Would you come up? I want to make sure that you get on audio anyway.
And again, I know this is not part of the zone change, but if we go to final development plan and have a final development plan, I don't want to have that either. I want to know what you guys actually, you know, we're under our allowable square footage. And the only thing that I have any, you know, is the digital display board, or the same thing on the building, if you look behind you on sign number 5. All the other signs, I mean, we're still 254 square feet below our allowed signage. That includes this digital board that says right now, guaranteed lowest tire prices. So that's the only other thing that we're looking to get sort of a direction on, whether that's reviewable at this level or not. Do we have to go back for a final development plan and ask for a variance at that point?
I literally just got this tonight, handed to me when I walked in. I have no idea if they measured the signs correctly. I don't know if his assertion that the square footage is correct. If you want to consider it, I'd recommend that you guys continue the hearing so that we can look at it and get back to you with the findings on whether the signage actually does meet the code or not.
Okay. What are you saying again? That we
So
want
do you
to
want us?
table this for that?
If you want them to approve a specific sign package, they should probably know what they're approving, and right now they have no idea because nobody's looked at it. until
Right now,
tonight.
it's a conversation.
Okay.
That's
No,
what I
I think
want.
what
Well,
This is
hold on, I'm sorry.
Okay.
I appreciate that you might want to have a conversation. What I would suggest at this point is, since we're in the public hearing on the zone change, let's stick with that.
That's fine.
And this may not be the appropriate venue
I'm
to
looking-
have that
That's what I'm
conversation.
asking.
If I may, I'm looking here at the conditions and the variances that were discussed and in the minutes and so on that we have before us. Item 2, under conditions, says that a detailed signage plan shall be submitted as part of the final development plan. Why can't you work out signage details and so on at that point? And we go ahead?
That's what I suggest.
Yes.
That's when it would happen.
Right.
And I understand, they're just saying, hey, we're here,
Right.
Yeah.
but it's probably not the appropriate time for that.
And that's fine.
Again, this is-
I'm not asking for that. I'm
Right.
just saying that as things unfold, the only other thing that we have that would need to get sort of an approval from this body is that piece.
Well, it
Well,
wouldn't
that's
be
actually
from this
not-
body.
Final
not part of
development
what you
plan
need
as far
to
as I'm
have
concerned.
considered. I mean-
That doesn't affect your zoning change request.
No.
How's that? Okay.
Now, if we want to not talk about it, we'll just pull it down and say, we won't talk about it now. We'll talk about that later. I'm fine with
We're going
that.
to talk about it later.
Yeah.
What's that?
At the final development plan stage where it's appropriate to talk about the building signage, this is part of the packet that I mentioned earlier that was submitted to you tonight that I suggested we not make part of the case file
Yeah.
because nobody's looked at it until tonight, so.
Well, I'm
I still
only
make that
working
suggestion.
off of what you guys have already been through in the zoning.
Correct, thank you.
Okay, and the 5 conditions and the 5 variances. And okay, the only one I see of issue right now is the variance number 5, which has to do with the display of a minimum of 30 seconds.
That is
That's all I
correct.
see.
That's right.
That is
Okay,
correct.
so if we work that out, we can get on with what we're going to do here.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, I think what Randy and we're trying to do there is show you, as we evolve, more of the finished product. And we knew we had a certain amount of square footage because it has a lot of lineal footage along 3 properties. So, I double-checked the math. I mean, obviously Brian needs to and wants to double-check the math. It is 254 feet under what we could have done. And the only consideration that Randy was asking for was contained within that limit that's under 254 feet, is the ability to have that. We wanted something real clean along Montgomery Road because there's no other signage there. And then under Service Center, you know, we do have some things that we would like the public to know, like we're open 7 days a week until 3 in the morning, and we have guaranteed lowest tire prices. So to the degree when we present that later, that's what we were trying to put all the cards on the table with you guys tonight.
All right. Anything else, guys? Okay. Is there anyone that else wants to speak for or against,
Anybody from the public?
from the
This is
public
your
that wants to speak
opportunity.
for or against? Okay.
Yeah.
I do, I'll say a couple things.
Okay. Identify yourself.
My name's Fred Hyatt. I live at 12010 Carrington Lane. You know, the sign, the change of the sign, the one sign, the 8 seconds, 5 seconds, 30 seconds. I don't know, 8 seconds is what, 7 pages per minute? That doesn't seem that long, really. You know, even if you let the guy do it every 10 seconds, so every minute there's 6 different pages. I think for 30 seconds, I think that's way too long. I mean, how long you at the light, you're driving by, you see the same picture, it doesn't really help the guy at all, you know. So, you know, a few seconds, it's, I don't know, as the public, what's the difference, you know? It's just pictures people are looking at, and it captures their mind why they're sitting at the light maybe for a few seconds. The signage stuff, I don't know how old the zoning laws are, when they were made, but you gotta take into consideration the change in technology today, with the lights, with the signs, it's new technology. When were those rules written? So, things are all, it's changed. I mean, the building was built in '88. I can tell you what the guy wants to do here compared to what's sitting there right now.
Oh, absolutely.
Is just, it's a change, I look at, from my condo, I look up and I see that cell tower every day. I walk to my car, I see that cell tower. I definitely would rather see that American flag, and even when you drive by on Montgomery Road, what do you see? You see the backs of the stores now. I mean, that doesn't look too appealing.
Right.
And if you drive by his dealership there in the auto mall, I mean, this looks like this guy to me does everything first class. So I'm sure he's going to do a first class job over at this place here too.
Absolutely.
So as public, I'd be happy to see that over there. I think it's be good for the township. So that's really all I got to say.
Thank you.
Thank you, Fred.
Anyone else?
Super nice.
Okay. Then I move to close the public hearing.
Second.
Roll call.
Mr. Beck,
Aye.
Mr. Bryant,
Aye.
Ms. Lees.
Aye.
Okay. Now, turn our microphones on here.
Are there any questions you guys want to ask Brian or the applicant or?
I've gone through all this material recently again. I tried to ask my questions as they came up. we can all speak or not. I'm going to speak first, I guess. Basically, upon discussion here in open session, so to speak, we feel that the only issue on the table here is in conditions and variances. We concur pretty much with the zoning board, and we appreciate all that McCluskey Chevrolet and the applicant, as the applicant, is the potential it brings to Symmes Township. We really like it. Okay. But I think the only thing that we disagree with the zoning board on is section, variance number 5, section 321.5-2. 4, that the site shall be permitted to have a variable message center with maximum of 72 square feet in size, where maximum size of 35 square feet is permitted for variable message. That means that they're allowing the variance to go to 72 square feet, and that any messages or graphic display on the variable message center shall be displayed for a minimum of 8 seconds. Okay. Brian, our rationale for that is it's already in our code, and we see what 8 seconds is versus 30 seconds, and we're going to change what the zoning board recommends.
Fully agree.
Okay. Any questions? Any other comments you guys want to
No, I just want to say welcome.
Yep.
I want you to know that you check all the boxes for me. I'm about family, community, and environment, and so I love it. I love the project. I'm very excited that you chose Symmes Township.
Okay. With that thought in mind, let me find the right piece of paper here.
And I would like to thank Brian
Brian did
and the
great
zoning
job.
commission.
Yes.
You put a lot of effort and thought and time into this, and I'm very, very satisfied with the outcome. Thank you for doing that.
Thank you.
And I'd like to thank Keith and your team. This is first class. This is amazing. This is an amazing product. I wish it would open tomorrow, because I can't wait to see it. I really appreciate your investment in the community, because, as you said, I mean, there are a lot of things here that you don't have to do, but you want to do to set yourself apart. And I think that will be really obvious to the public, and particularly the consumers. So that's terrific. I did have one question. It's not to deviate from the issue, but just for my understanding, can you help me understand the timing of the final development plan versus starting construction?
Sure.
Can they be concurrent?
No, they can't. This zone change, if you adopt this resolution tonight, isn't effective until 30 days from today.
Okay.
So the zoning commission cannot hear the final development plan until the zone change is effective. So it's going to be probably November before the zoning commission approves it, and then it'll just be up to them as to how long it takes them to get the building permit approved. So they'll go into the zoning permit and building permit process. The zoning permit gets issued while they wait, probably the same day, and the building permit will take 2-3 weeks to approve, and then they can start construction. So they should be set by the beginning of the year.
So the final development plan is, I didn't hear you say when that was exactly.
Oh, the earliest it could be would be November. I mean, that's also up to them to submit the application form on time to make the November deadline, but it can't happen before November.
I see. Okay. Okay.
So is the 30-day referendum in 30 days, like 10/22? But then it's just the
Right, but I
meeting.
think our
21 days in.
deadline, I think our deadline is a couple days before that 30 days is up, which, I mean, it's okay if they submit it, wouldn't it?
Oh, yeah,
be?
yeah. No, the
It's okay
zoning
if they
commission just
submit
can't.
it, but they
Yes,
just
right.
can't hear it.
That's why I said November, that's right.
Yeah.
yes.
Right, assuming that it's adopted tonight, the 22nd, 30 days, it will become effective October 22nd.
Right.
You can submit, they can submit their application for their final development plan before that, but it can't be heard until after that. But that sounds like, so
Right,
I don't
it's-
know what the date is for the November,
It's November 17th.
yeah.
So 30 days prior to that would be October 17th, but that's a Sunday, So you got to do it on the 15th, which is that Friday before the 17th, which
So we have
is,
to submit our final development plan data by the 15th of October to get
Right.
into the November.
If you want to be on the November.
right.
Yeah.
Okay.
But then, Kim, like you and I talked, if the 30-day referendum where it would take 25% of the Symmes Township voters to sign, if we get past that, and we do what we say we're doing here, is there any way it would not fall together at that November meeting? And I'm not
I guess
asking
that depends
'cause
on
I
you.
wanna Rush and do it.
Depends on you.
I'm trying to be respectful to Casto who's trying to sell it, and they're getting a little, you know.
Yeah, I guess
upset.
it's up to
Take
Randy,
one.
as long as Randy can keep this moving and keep his application going and there's no more changes, then you guys would obviously submit your plans by October 15th to Brian, and then he can schedule you for the November 17th meeting.
And we would be past the 10/22 where the referendum could cause.
Yeah,
a
because
problem.
that would be kind of fall in between it. So like I said, you and I talked on the phone about this, like if someone did file for a referendum and it was certified, then it would halt the whole process.
Yeah, then you're going to get pulled off of the November agenda,
Right.
and we've got a whole different
Yeah.
world
Yeah.
of issues.
And I think it has to be in the general election, right?
Yeah,
It can't be in the
referendum.
primary?
And everything, issues have already closed for the 2021 election.
No, it'll be heard.
No, it
No,
would
it'd
be,
It'll be on the ballot somewhere.
It
It could be on
could.
any regular election.
it could be
that's-
even on the primary ballot?
Yes, it could be on
Okay,
any election
all
that
right.
happens in.
I don't see
26,
that
I believe.
happening based
It
on
just has to be
attendance
certified
at the
by
hearing.
elections.
Based
Okay.
based on
Right.
attendance
I
at
had,
the
for some
hearings
reason I had in
and
my head, I
zoning
thought it could
meetings
only
and
be on
so
the
on.
general election ballot.
Think
There's
so. I
several
think that's what
emails,
the
too,
8%
that were-
comes from, the last
Yeah.
8% of the.
I don't think we've heard
Right.
anything
The last
back.
gubernatorial election. That's
Right.
Like if it was a wonky landfill, you could rally the troops to everything.
They've already been
Yeah.
made.
Yeah.
This is a positive,
We've had
so
this
it-
issue on the ballot.
You can see the rockets
Okay.
fell behind us, so.
Okay,
Believe me, if they were unhappy, they would be here.
yeah.
I'll put in
Okay.
108% effort on my recruiting efforts, just in respect for the 8% of the 8 second.
Well, you gotta, it's gonna take a year to build it, right?
Yeah.
All right.
What's that?
Okay.
All right,
You know, I'd
thank
like to
you.
thank
That
Brian,
answered my
too.
question.
There was moments, Brian, I think would agree, where it was, you know, we wanted what we wanted, and Brian respectfully was very by the book, and, you know, educated us on some things that needed to happen and helped us, you know, through it, and we too are very happy with the end result.
Okay, that's good to hear, it really is. Okay, moving on.
Get things done by the 15th, so.
Seeing no old business under new business, I move approval Resolution G 2021-81, a resolution approving a zone change from OO planned residence with subservient office/major revision to EE planned residence district located at 9365 Fields Erdel Road. And in the draft resolution I have, the only notation would have to be changed from 30 seconds to 8. Okay,
Yeah, that's all incorporated into the motion,
okay,
and so if that gets a second, well, I'll just stop talking.
I'll
See if-
second.
second.
Okay,
Now
so now you have a second. So what's before you for your consideration now is Resolution 2021-81 with that amendment that changes the one variance, the 30 seconds to 8 seconds. So that's what you'll be,
I tried to do that all at once.
you've done it all at once, and I think you're fine, and that's
Okay.
what's before the board.
Okay,
And so that's what you'll be voting on.
okay.
Good.
Roll call.
Good.
I'm sorry, any other discussion?
No,
Okay, roll call.
Ms. Lees.
Aye.
Mr. Beck.
thank you. Aye.
Mr. Bryan.
Absolutely. All right,
Good.
All right, well,
thank you.
welcome.
Thank you.
I move that we adjourn.
Second.
Roll call.
Mr. Bryan.
Aye.
Ms. Lees.
Aye.
Mr. Beck.
Aye.